Mr. President, warm welcome to this interview with our studio.
Thank you. Thank you.
What are your expectations towards this visit in Finland?
Finland has been, in the past 10 years, especially, one of the countries that has shown concern for the Afghan people, for the well-being of the Afghan people, and has been helping us in Afghanistan. There is so much to learn from Finland, and there is so much to have from Finland in manner of help and assistance to Afghanistan. So I'm here for two purposes. One, to thank the people of Finland, their government, for the help they've given us in the past so many years. Second, to sign an agreement of cooperation between the two countries into the future, at least for the next 10 years.
Afghanistan is still a very poor country, and even if the things have improved enormously from the beginning of 2000, how would you explain to the Finnish audience that it's still crucial for the Finns to be part of the rebuilding Afghanistan?
Quite right, ma'am. On the one hand, Afghanistan has made a lot of progress in the past 10 years. From education to health services to roads to the economy in a way. We have had massive change in our country towards betterment. On the other hand, Afghanistan still remains among the poorest countries in the world. All the human indicators are at the lowest of the standards that the world has seen. So why is it important to help Afghanistan is for the reason of helping a nation that wants to raise its standard of living, helping a nation that wants to fight extremism and terrorism and radicalism. And by doing that, Finland will not only be helping Afghanistan, but also adding to the betterment of security for the whole world.
The Taliban, they are a reality.
Yes.
They are a force inside Afghanistan, and I'm aware that you think that Pakistan is a bad influence on them. And I also hear that the Americans have been talking directly or indirectly to the Taliban, and I understand that some of your representatives have been in touch with Taliban.
Yes,
where are we here?
Well, we are in all those places that you mentioned. The Afghan government is talking to the Taliban. Various representatives of the Afghan society are talking to the Taliban. There's no doubt that Pakistan has an influence over the Taliban. The Taliban have their sanctuaries and their places of training in Pakistan, which is now known all over the world, and which the Pakistani government authorities no longer deny as well. The US has been talking to the Taliban. What we want is to put this entire arrangement of things, the array of things that are there in the name of the peace process or contacts by various entities with the Taliban in one context of a formalized process for talks. And it is only through that formalized process of talks that we can have a satisfactory result for peace in Afghanistan, meaning that we recognize that Americans have been talking to the Taliban. We know that the Pakistanis have very strong influence over the Taliban. But eventually, since the Taliban are a part of them, definitely Afghan, a peace process that will lead to stability and peace in Afghanistan can only be led and be owned by the Afghans. Therefore, this process has to be Afghanized entirely, and this process has to be conducted through a channel that will represent the majority of the Afghan people. That channel is the High Peace Council of Afghanistan, and it's only through that process and the channel that I explained, the High Peace Council of Afghanistan, that we can have a proper, sustainable peace.
Is there going to be an agreement so that the Taliban can join the part of the political body in Afghanistan before the presidential elections?
Well, why not? We have a constitution. And the Afghan constitution has given the Afghan people privileges and rights and obligations. Within this constitution, any Afghan has the right to stand for elections and to stand for political activity and to have freedom of speech and expression and to have the rights that the constitution has given to the Afghan people. So yes.
So the Taliban can even run for the election?
Absolutely. Once they join the Afghan peace process, once they accept the Afghan constitution, why not? There are areas in the constitution, of course, that the Taliban may not want. But that too is possible to amend through the a decision-making body of the Afghan people, which is the Afghan Loya Jirga, the Grand Council of the Afghan people. That too can be possible if the need be and if the people of Afghanistan agree to it.
What are the risks of the Taliban-style government to come to power?
There will not be a Taliban-style government in Afghanistan. No. When we say the Taliban can join the peace process, it doesn't mean that the government that they want should come to Afghanistan. No. The government of Afghanistan should be what the Afghan people want, the majority of the Afghan people.
Well, I'll modify it. What risks do you see if they participate?
None whatsoever. Because the Afghan people will not allow the progress that you have made in the past 10 years to be reversed. We will not allow our schools to be closed. We will not allow our girls not to go to school. We will not allow our women not to participate in economy, in society, and in politics. We will not allow our economic progress to be reversed. We will not allow Afghanistan to go back to an obscurantist way of life where the Afghans have no future or no presence on the world stage.
Let's talk about a little bit about Pakistan. Mr. President, your relationship with the Pakistan is very important.
Yes, indeed.
Are you in touch with the Pakistanis?
Yes, ma'am. As a matter of fact, in the past, Pakistan has been there for about 65 years now. And in the past 65 years history of Pakistan, no Afghan government has been as much and as closely and as frequently in contact with Pakistan as my government has been. In the past 55 years before 2001, maybe there were altogether 5 or 6 visits between the Afghan representatives and the Pakistani government. But in the past 10 years, since 2001, I, as the President of Afghanistan, have visited Pakistan 19 times.
But there's still
and they have come to us and we have gone. So there's a lot of interaction between them. On that level, where the interaction is concerned, we're doing very well. But where we expect results from those visits, that has not come to us, unfortunately. And it's exactly that results which we're trying to have now.
So there's a lot to improve.
Plenty to improve. Plenty to improve.
Is India a problem in the relationship with Pakistan and Afghanistan? And are the Pakistanis thinking that you are too close to India?
Well, we are close to India, and that's a very good thing. India is a great country in this world. It's a great economy, it's a rising power, it's a rising economic power. And India and Afghanistan have centuries of relationships. It's not a fresh relationship. It's not a new relationship. It's the same, we are the same region, as so is Pakistan of the same region. But our relations with India shall have no impact on relations with Pakistan. We want to have the closest relations in this whole world with Pakistan. The closest relations possible, because we have geographical contiguity, we have ethnic similarities, we have religious similarities. The Pakistani people have been very generous to us when we were there as refugees during the struggle against the former Soviet Union. So we recognize all of that. But this close relationship with Pakistan, friendship with Pakistan, brotherhood with Pakistan, and interaction with Pakistan should not mean a reduction in our relations with other countries, especially with India. Now, Pakistan has the right to ask Afghanistan that Pakistan's interests should not be threatened from Afghanistan. Just like we have that right, just like we are asking Pakistan that Afghanistan's territory or interests should not be heard from Pakistan, from the sanctuaries there. With India, we will have our own relations and a good relationship, and we are grateful to the people of India for the help that they have given us. With Pakistan, we will have our own good relations. In other words, the peace process with the Taliban, the improvement of relations with Pakistan, should not be interpreted as meaning that Afghanistan's foreign policy should be subjected to another country's will. No. We will continue to have an independent foreign policy where we will have relations with all the countries, especially in the region, especially with India, but very particularly and strongly also with Pakistan and China and others.
And you have to voice this out clearly, right?
I have, and I shall do more of it, yes.
The election 2014, you are saying that you are not running.
Yes.
And some people say that you want to stay in power.
Yes, some people do say that, yes.
Is that a case or not?
No. Why would I stay beyond 2014? It isn't good for me. The Constitution has allowed me 2 terms. Beyond those 2 terms, I will have to amend the Constitution. And that is not good for Afghanistan, nor is it good for me. So I like to have a legacy left in Afghanistan of a person, of a president that helped democracy in Afghanistan, that helped bring in the freedom of expression and speech to Afghanistan, that institutionalized democracy in Afghanistan by continuing with the Constitution, and that a new president comes through that Constitution and the right of the vote of the Afghan people. All of that will be good for me. Continuing in power by any means is neither good for my legacy or the institutionalization of democracy in Afghanistan for the betterment of the Afghan lives. So, for the reasons of my person and for the reasons of the country and the people, I better leave office in 2014, and we should have a good election, a proper election, an election where neither Western countries, nor our neighbors, nor the Afghan government would intervene, that would produce a desired result for the Afghan people. So, no, I'm not a candidate, and I don't intend to.
100% no.
And 1,000,000% no.
Okay. Do you have a candidate?
There are people that I think, individuals that I think are good, suitable candidates. But eventually I believe whoever becomes the Afghan president must have the vote of the majority of the Afghan people, must also have the trust of those who have not voted for him. So the day after the election, the president of Afghanistan has to be acceptable to all the Afghan people, and he or she, whoever becomes the president, must also feel that those who have not voted for him or her are also considering him as the president, and he is serving them all equally.
So no support for anyone, at least at this point?
Not at this point. I believe it's for the Afghan people to elect a president. And if I don't see a great danger to the Afghan unity or Afghan constitutional continuity, I will not, it isn't right for me to go, though I have that right as the citizen of Afghanistan, but it's not right for me to go and campaign for one particular candidate. It better be the candidates themselves and then the vote of the Afghan people.
Let's talk about the civil society. What role do you see for the civil society in imagining your country's future?
Afghanistan traditionally had a very strong civil society. Now, with the difference. We in Afghanistan have strong communities, had strong communities in the past. That structure of communities was damaged by the years of war and upheavals in Afghanistan. Impositions were made from outside on the Afghan society. One was the imposition of communism by force by the former Soviet Union on the Afghan people, and a way of life that the Afghan people did not accept. The other was the imposition of radicalism by the West and Pakistan in the name of the Afghan resistance against the Soviet Union, in the name of the jihad of the Afghan people. That has damaged our communities, but still our communities are strong. So the traditional community, the village elder, the village clergy, the village spiritual leader, and the community as such is there. There is also the new civil society that you recognize in the West, the civil society of the urbanites. That is also emerging and strongly emerging. So what I wish is a combination of the two, the traditional community civil society and the modern urbanized civil society, to work together towards a strong and democratic Afghanistan.
How do you envision the role of the woman?
Very much strongly and very good. Our ambassador to Finland is a woman, a distinguished woman. And the same way there are other women in Afghanistan who have high positions in the government. They are in the parliament, they are in public life.
You've said that encouraging children towards education, particularly in education of the girls, is vital and important. Still, occasionally there are attacks against female students and their teachers or school buildings. What can you do about this?
Well, there are not only attacks against girls and women teachers, female teachers. There are attacks against education itself in Afghanistan. Boys and girls, men and women, are under attack. So unfortunately, this is what we have. But we're working against it every day. Yesterday, just before I flew towards Finland, my weekly speech was once again on urging the Taliban not to attack schools, not to attack education. And for the sake of their own children, that they shouldn't do that.
But
and we will continue to do that. But speaking of education, Finland is one great example for Afghanistan. And I'll be exploring it here today with your President, Prime Minister, and the government and the Parliament on how we can copy, at least to the extent that we can in Afghanistan, the great example of Finland on how to bring better education to the Afghan children.
If you envision the future, how would Afghanistan look in 2020?
If we continue the same way, and if we have peace in Afghanistan, Afghanistan in 2020 will be 3-4 times better than today. Stronger institutions, better governance, better democracy, better economy, and a more educated population.
That's an encouraging vision.
That will definitely be there. Come the peace for the Afghan people, all this will be there.
Thank you very, very much for your interview.